Chapter 13. The Conduit. The grand hall stretched upward into an endless lattice of scintillating quartzes, gemstones, and long slivers of proselyum hung from vaulted ceilings. Light traveled through it all in slow currents, gold sliding into violet and back again, each beam fracturing across 1,000 surfaces before finding the next. Kai's pace slowed of its own accord. Tones threaded through the silence, constant and layered, like voices kept just beneath the threshold of speech. The crystal at his hip sang faintly, as if answering them. His father had told him stories of places like this, but standing here now, he suspected his father might have undersold the truth in those stories, however fantastic they had been. The Myr really built all this? Kai asked. Yes. Over many centuries, Eira responded. Why would they ever need something like this? Kai watched her gaze shift upward, seemingly taking in the sight of the crystal overhead. Knowledge, she said. The belief that wisdom should outlast one mortal life, passed to others. But I don't see a single tome. Not even a scroll. Look around you. They didn't need them. She gestured to the dagger at Kai's waist. They kept it all in these, contained within proselyum. How? She scoffed. I don't know how. They just did. Kai studied the crystalline structures surrounding them with fresh realization. Each one could have been a library of its own accord, holding centuries of accumulated wisdom in compressed light. The thought staggered him. His father's stories had spoken of ancient learning, yeah, but he'd always imagined dusty volumes and faded manuscripts. Not this. Not entire histories captured like flies in amber. It would take lifetimes just to read a fraction of what might be kept here. No, you wouldn't need to. They had machines that would imprint the knowledge for you, as if it were your own memory. She moved toward one of the larger formations that spiraled upward like a frozen helix, made entirely of the same latticed crystal as the crystal. Kai tried to wrap his mind around it. Knowledge transferred without study, without cycles of apprenticeship or tedious memorization, just given freely. The concept felt profane, like there was nothing about it that felt earned. Anyone could possess it, the disciplined and the reckless alike. Surely there had to be rules to ensure the knowledge was used wisely. That kind of power must have been dangerous. He probed, following behind Eira as she resumed walking. Not everyone can know everything. No one is meant to know everything, Kai. I'm sure they had a hierarchy of who could access what. She looked back at him as they walked, gesturing up toward the pillars. And when the Ryn started demanding equal access to that knowledge, demanding to know the secrets of proselyum itself, the war began, Kai finished. She nodded. A floating sphere of light, no bigger than a ball of yarn, drifted closer to them. Its glow intensified as it hovered between them. Eira reached out tentatively, her fingers brushing the edge of the light. It flared briefly, revealing intricate runes suspended within the sphere. It drifted upward and away from her touch.
Pause. Yembas riven fel viska koven.
It spoke quickly. What did it say? It asked us to stop gawking around, Eira said. It wants us to move to the main chamber. She paused, frowning. It sounded impatient. Okay, glad you caught that. I thought it was just me. Eira faced the sphere. What's there? She asked. The sphere ascended without answer, rising high into the vaulted space before darting away. Beneath their feet, a line ignited. Bright pulses raced forward, deeper into the building. Kai began to follow it. At least it's showing us the way. The crystalline hall at last opened into a circular chamber, its vaulted ceiling arched high above them. Constellations etched into stone shimmered with intense light. At the center stood a metal plinth, and atop it was a cube made out of a semi-transparent clouded material. Light radiated from within it, rippling outward in concentric waves that made the polished floor shimmer like water. As they approached, language appeared as light around the plinth, spiraling, folding inward. A human figure materialized above the cube. It was luminous and fractured, its form a shifting mosaic of prismatic shards that glinted and shimmered as they caught the light around them. Colors bled and merged with each subtle movement, painting the stone in patterns that never repeated. The air around it hummed with a low vibration that Kai could feel in his chest. The figure was at once breathtaking and unsettling. Its face, though blurred and ethereal, bore the high cheekbones and the angular features of the Myr'ides, the same carved reliefs that marked the citadel's ancient exterior. Its eyes were luminous, depthless, as if they were fixed on some distant horizon no mortal could perceive. Weightless strands of spectral light drifted around its head like hair, cascading in shifting hues that framed a visage of regal beauty, touched by ineffable sorrow, as if it carried the weight of ages.
"Chainoririn,"
said the figure. As it spoke, Kai couldn't help but notice its voice layering with harmonics that resonated through the chamber like both whisper and chorus. It glanced around the space, then locked eyes with him, saying, "Eviscerai." "Chainoririn," Kai repeated, though he couldn't recognize the expression. He turned to Eira expectantly. "It doesn't really have a direct translation, Kai. Something like, anything that can happen will happen inevitably. I learned it from my mother. The other word, though, eviscerai, a greeting." Eira nodded. "Good. You understand." He turned back to the figure, repeating, "Eviscerai." The figure drifted down from the plinth and approached him. Its gown was woven not of fabric, but of pure prismir. It fanned in fragmented layers, shifting in flux between hues of dawn and dusk. Its hands, slender and precise, moved with grace that suggested both control and cost. It extended one out to Kai as it gestured toward itself with the other. "Yasenar Myr'idiqua?" the figure asked, tilting its head. "Do you know Myr'idic?" Kai understood this, at least. "Masenes skuidiquas ma rithistar asith," Kai responded. He struggled to explain that he only knew a little bit of the old tongue. He knew his incantations but never had to converse in Myr'idic. The faintest smile brushed the figure's lips. "Hoka, posma, karir yar o navidixen." It raised both hands and opened its palms. Kai raised his to meet them, clasping. "What am I doing?" he whispered back to Eira. "Kai, I don't know." Kai couldn't help but gaze into the lights that made up the figure's eyes, and it felt like looking through those luminous eyes into something infinite. Not a void like the Nightshawl, but an endless cascade of light and sound and motion. Memories layered upon memories, centuries compressed into fragments that flickered past faster than he could process them. Faces he'd never seen. Cities that rose and crumbled in the span of a breath. Voices speaking languages dead before his ancestors drew their first breath. All of it surging toward him at once. His chest tightened. His pulse hammered in his ears. He couldn't look away, even as the sheer scale of it pressed against his mind like a giant's hand closing around his skull. As the figure tightened its hold, a rushing sound filled Kai's ears, cresting in the middle of his brain. The figure let go. Kai staggered back, the floor tilting beneath him. His vision swam, the chamber's edges blurring and snapping back into focus. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the pressure vanished, leaving only the hollow ache of its absence. The avatar's light dimmed low, its form flickering as though struggling to hold coherence. The silence stretched as Kai regained his balance. When it finally spoke, its voice was hollow with grief that seemed to emanate from the very walls around them. "I see now what became of us, what she did to Danetta." The words came slowly. It looked up at Kai. Thank you for showing me. Eira frowned. It didn't know. Kai blinked hard and said, It speaks our language. I do, now that you've shared it with me. I didn't share anything. His voice came out sharper than he intended. How did you learn it? I scanned your engrams. My what? Your mind, Kai, Eira offered quietly. It took a picture of your brain. Kai snapped back to the figure. Who? Oh, I guess I should rather say, what are you? I am all this. This is an avatar of the Crystal Archives. The avatar gestured toward the crystal. Long have I awaited the time when someone might return me to Denetta. Are you the last? Eira asked, stepping forward. Do any other citadels still exist? The Forum? The Grove? One moment. The avatar's luminous form flickered like a candle in wind. When it spoke again, its voice carried a sorrow it hadn't before. I reached into the threads of Prismir, but the substance has changed. I cannot see through it as I once did. It paused, the silence heavy. If others remain, they are beyond my reach. Kai and Eira exchanged a glance. Kai broke the silence. We're seeking answers about the witches, the curses, and this. He drew the crystal and held it between them. The avatar's gaze lingered on the crystal, as if considering what to say about the relic. When it finally spoke, its voice carried a note of caution. Even in my time, there were very few like this. The crystal was forged from Kolsheda herself, making it one of the most formidable of the Krafkalialilath. All the Myr'ides bore one, but this. It paused, the light within dimming. If it falls into the wrong hands, the cost will be catastrophic. I see it has chosen you. Guard it well. The avatar's gaze sharpened. And ensure it never returns to Kolsheda. Then it's true. The dagger has the power to undo the Nightshawl, Kai asked. The avatar's head tilted. Nightshawl. The weaving beyond my walls? Yes. I do not know much about this weaving you speak of. I was cast out long before. It paused, and when it spoke again, there was a subdued quality to its voice. The last I knew of Denetta, Kolsheda had turned against me. The archives were severed from the world. What came after? What she wrought upon the land? I cannot say specifically, save for what you already know. But the Nightshawl, Kai prompted. You saw it in my mind, didn't you? What they've done to us. Yes, it said quietly. I saw. A long pause. Such ruin. The land itself turned against its people. Prismir twisted into a weapon of despair. Such cruelty. Can the crystal undo it? Eira asked. Its gaze shifted back to the dagger in Kai's hand. The Krafkalialilathin were forged to bind great weavings of Prismir. To unmake such a weaving requires the same power that created it. Kai felt the blade hum against his palm, a faint resonance that seemed to acknowledge the truth of the avatar's words. Eira stepped forward. What kind of power? What would it take to undo the Nightshawl? The witches who wove the curse must have shared the burden among many. Each would have had to give a portion of herself, her essence, her strength, her very being to sustain it. The avatar floated away in contemplation. To unravel it would require the same, many souls willing to give of themselves in equal measure. Kai wondered out loud, and if I tried it alone? Eira's gaze darted over to him. The avatar turned slowly. Then you will bear the full power of what many witches shared. You see, the crystal would channel power through you. Not a portion, but all of it at once. It paused. The bearer would burn, body, mind, and soul, consumed by forces no single vessel was meant to contain. Kai's heart pounded. He'd thought if he could gather enough strength, enough will, he could undo the curse himself. But if I could control it, then You cannot control it, the Avatar said simply. Prismir does not submit to will. It flows. It always seeks equilibrium. But we do control it, Kai countered. When we incant, when we draw our runes, isn't that controlling it? Eira moved closer to him. My mother explained it to me like this. Runes are an instruction, a path that you offer, and Prismir follows because it seeks expression, nothing more. The Avatar nodded. Prismir is too difficult to control. Open a dam and you will see either a trickle of water or a raging flood. Either way, the water seeks equilibrium. Kai stared at the crystal dagger in his hand. So, the crystal opens the dam fully. The ninefold fracture seems vast. Unmaking it requires vast power. If you stand alone, you bear the full flood. There's nothing to slow it, nothing to share the burden. The Avatar's voice was quiet, final. It will consume you. Kai frowned. Defiance flickered in his chest. That doesn't make sense. If power exists, someone's going to use it. Better me than someone who'd make things worse. The Ryn Dynasties believed the same, the Avatar said. They bent the threads of magic toward them, forged their war machines with the light of Prismir, and sought to command the arcana of Priscillium through will alone. They believed mastery was a matter of perseverance and discipline. And? Kai asked. And clearly they failed. The Avatar gestured around itself. Eira huffed. They tried to impose their own laws on it, never considering that it had laws of its own. He looked up. So I can't do this alone. I need others, people willing to share the cost. Yes, the Avatar bobbed its head. Rune runners, Eira said. Kai nodded slowly. We go to Korik, gather them. He hesitated, realizing he didn't quite have a plan. And then what? How do we even begin to undo something like the Nightshawl? How do we attack its pillars? First, the blade must be charged. It is depleted now. A vessel without power, spent by Kolsheda working her curse. Kai looked down at the weapon in his hand. It doesn't feel powerless to me. It got us this far. What you feel is resonance. But it has not yet been filled with the force that it was meant to carry. That, Kai, resides here. The crystal must bear the power of the crystal archives. Only then will it have the strength to challenge a weaving as vast as the ninefold fracture. How does that work? Eira asked. The dagger is the key to this citadel. The citadel is the source of the dagger's power. One cannot function without the other, and the crystal has chosen Kai to be the bridge between both, and to become my new seneschal. Your new what? Kai blinked. Guardian, executive, representative, seneschal. Alright, what do I do? Kai asked. We don't have much time. As if summoned by his words, a tremor split the chamber. The stone shuddered beneath their feet. The Avatar's glow flared, then sputtered. The glyphs adorning the walls twisted, their orderly light splintering into erratic patterns. The air thickened, heavy, suffocating. The crystal's warmth surged against Kai's palm, pulsing like a frantic heartbeat. The chamber groaned unnaturally, rattling through the stone like breath through broken lungs. A chittering, a clicking, and popping. Eira drew her sword. Then from the darkness beyond the threshold, a voice, low, smooth, filled with terrible certainty, slid through the air like silken bedsheets being laid over a steel slab. Thou hast ventured too far, Rune Runner. The walls shuddered. The glyphs within them flared crimson.